Hey guys, welcome back to Young Americans Abroad. My name is Austin.
And my name is Patrick.
And guys, welcome back to our show.
Yeah, we got AVT and PAT. They talking about young Americans overseas. We got McKinney, Pulisic, Reyna, and Des. Got that red, white, and blue. USA on the crest from England, Germany, from Belgium to Spain. Racking up all the medals on the trophy train. Got one thing on their mind, we're skill and some luck. One day we can say we will win the World Cup.
Well, guys, we're back with a really fun video today. You know, the U20 CONCACAF Championship is currently kicking off. And today we want to take a look at 5 U20 players that maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't. And go into some detail, Pat. So these aren't your biggest names on the roster. And, you know, this roster is also missing a few players, but it's 5 players that we're really excited about and kind of want to go into a little bit more detail about.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to forget their names, right? They're fantastic prospects and talents, and they're here for a reason. Grant, like you said, players released in certain windows, Europe here, as well as the MLS. But these players are fantastic. And Austin, what are your thoughts so far in the tournament? I know we were watching Canada, texting back and forth. Something about these Canadians, man. I'm just dying to beat them again. But it was awesome to see them get started off on the right foot against St. Kitts and Nevis, which we should. But now it's setting up for an interesting kind of final game against Cuba.
Yeah, it's been kind of interesting, right? You know, that game against St. Kitts was really good, right? And that team, it looks like it's just, they're kind of lacking, right? They're not the best, most talented team. But Canada gave us a bit of a handful. I really feel like it was one of those games where, we weren't winning the 50-50 balls. We weren't necessarily getting, all the calls on the night. We had some really positive play in the final third. We had a lot of opportunities to score. We also dominated possession the whole night. It just seemed like we had a few breakdowns, right? Mental lapses where we made mistakes and, Canada punished us for it. But yeah, I really think it was positive that we were able to come back, 2 times, being down a goal and coming back and getting a draw to at least put us, into the knockout round and again, set us up for that crucial game against Cuba and a team, again, that we should beat, right? We should have beat Canada. Hopefully we'll be able to use that as momentum going into that game. And I think there's been, a lot of positives to take from the game so far.
Hey, and awesome. Did we qualify for another World Cup? Granted, it's a youth World Cup, but hey, we're there. I think that Olympic spot, we're getting closer to. It's the top 2 teams for that. But I believe we qualified for the World Cup. So maybe one day we'll win some more World Cups.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the big thing, right? We need to qualify for the Olympics, especially the U20 World Cup. I mean, we've qualified for that tournament for many years now, and that's a tournament we've had a lot of success in so far. Recently at least getting to the quarterfinal stage and really having some good performances there. So that's super important, but making the Olympics is obviously more important, right? Haven't qualified since 2008. So that's the goal of this team, right? We want to win the
2008. That's eons ago.
Yeah, exactly. And we want to win the CONCACAF championship. I believe we're going for a 3-peat, right? We're going for our 3rd in a row, maybe 4th. I'm pretty sure 3rd. We've had a lot of success in this tournament too. So I think that's going to, ride on those players the further we get in this tournament. It's also in Honduras, which I don't know if you've seen. The field conditions aren't necessarily the best. They're not as bad as
El Salvador, Austin.
No, definitely not as bad as El Salvador. But, unfamiliar circumstances, none the least, right? Nonetheless. So, I think so far we've seen, a good display. I think, we got a lot more games to play. And today we got to talk about, some players from that team that we're excited about. So I'm going to get us started off with number 1 on our list. And this is probably the highest profile player on this list, Pat. It's Paxton Aaronson. So if you don't know about him, he's the younger brother of Brendan Aaronson, 18-year-old attacking midfielder from the Philadelphia Union. 3 goals in MLS right now in 773 minutes of play. So really broke into their team last year and has gotten a lot of minutes so far in his young career in MLS. What I really like from him is, again, similar to his brother, right? He's got really good close control, really good technical ability. He's a very technically sound player. The one thing he does or has over his brother is his size, right? He's a little bit bigger than his brother. Plays with that size a little bit better than Brendan does, but definitely not the same. What's the best way to say it? Presser of the ball, right? He's not someone who's necessarily as active, with or without the ball like his brother is. But overall, Pat, he's just a really good all-around prospect. And he's someone, again, that isn't afraid to shoot in the final third. I think that's a really valuable asset of his. As you can tell, he scored 3 goals so far in his short MLS career. I just really like kind of how he's that all-around package. He's really continuing to grow. You've seen his progression from breaking into the first team last year and now in some of the game time we've seen from him at the U20 level, even some of his game time with the Union this year, you've really seen a good progression of him growing technically. And I think that's been really positive.
Yeah, I think that's key, very crucial. And it seems to run in that Aaronson family, right? Which is impressive. And I believe we both listen to it, but I think it's In Soccer We Trust. It's a fantastic podcast there.
Yeah.
They had Brendan on there, and they were mentioning his brother, right, and his growth and trajectory, and has that same mentality, which Brendan echoed on that podcast. Just really hard workers, have the right mentality and mindset. Has a brother, right, to look up to in this path. And you can see it already with the Union, a fantastic program and setup where he was able to rise quickly. And maybe he's not getting as many minutes as he would like right now, but that could change, right? In this season, in the next, he has plenty of time and room for growth. And it's a very difficult team to break into, like you mentioned, and we were talking off camera there. Regardless, though, I think in terms of skill, like you alluded to, I agree with everything you said. I think that mentality will set him apart. And like you said, why he's one of our higher rated prospects here, one of the crucial players. You're seeing some of the impact he's having at the tournament, even though he is being played slightly out of position, but really, really tremendous prospect. So I think that the ceiling is tremendous for him moving forward.
Yeah, and that's such a great point, Pat, because it's got to be tough following in the footsteps of someone who was so successful like his brother at the Union, academy in the Union first team, right? It's got to be tough kind of setting your own trail or charting your own course there.
Right.
But he's not taken anything for granted, right? And he's been really confident in all of his game time with the U20s. Even, earlier this year, he's really become a leader for that team. And I think he brings that mentality to the pitch every time he plays. And again, I agree with you, Pat. I think that's what sets him apart. And that's why, he is someone that I think has a higher ceiling than, some of our players on our list today, but also just some of the players that are also in that U20 pool that we're talking about right now. I think his mentality is something that really sets him apart. The other thing too, I wanted to mention real quick that I've seen, and this is an example of something that I think you've seen growth on from last year. I would say his patience and decision-making has been really, really positive so far this year. I think the more comfortable he's gotten playing against some better opponents, in MLS, but also, as a leader on the U20 team, he's really gotten better at selecting, his passes. I think there was a great sequence in one of the U20 games recently where he had multiple options to, shoot or pass the ball, but he waited till like his third or fourth option to lay the ball off for a great cross into the box. And again, it was just really positive. It showed progression, right? In him being comfortable in the box and not necessarily picking the easiest option, but the one that ultimately was the better option. So
that's wise beyond his years, Austin. Very mature play,
yeah.
Almost like a chess player, seeing those moves ahead.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. So I will say too, obviously we want to not just totally hype up these players. We want to also talk about some of the things they can improve. So the one thing too with Brendan, or excuse me, with Paxton is just continue to get more consistent, right? He does so many great things, and we talked about him being an all-around player, someone that is good at a lot of different things, but he just needs to get a little bit more consistent with his passing. Again, patience was great, but his decision-making still could use some improvement. And also, this is the same for all younger players, right? He needs to get more physical. Defending right now is something he doesn't do terribly well. But again, he's only 18 years old, playing against full professionals. He needs to, grow out his body a little bit more, fill in, and that'll come. And I think that's another aspect of his game that he can add to. And really just kind of, again, set himself apart, set himself up for hopefully a move down the road, right, Pat? We've heard the links about Red Bull Salzburg, right? It's an easy
comparison. Follow in his brother's footsteps, Austin.
Yeah, I feel like it's an easy rumor to kind of create, and I do think there's some truth to it. I'm sure they're super plugged into what the Union are doing, especially since Brendan came through their system. But I'm curious to see where he goes. I think he's got a top 5 league potential, right? Like he's someone that should be playing in a top 5 league, whether it's the Bundesliga, whether it's the Premier League, or elsewhere. I really think the sky's the limit for him, and it'll be fun to watch him progress over the next few years.
Couldn't agree more, Austin. All the best for Paxton there, and maybe he'll be kind of having 1-2 combos with Brendan with the USMNT in the future. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah. Now moving over to another midfielder here, Diego Luna, a really interesting, intriguing prospect here. Almost has that Shaqiri mold to him in terms of that strength, right? That low center of gravity and power he has in unique size. So just to give a little backstory on his career progression and where he started. Back in San Jose, I think at 12, he was part of the Earthquakes Academy and had some Dallas Cup involvement, almost synonymous, right? But at age 15 there, he went to the Barca Academy in Arizona, which also I know you said brought up a few pretty good players there, which is
Matt Hoppy, Caden Clark has gone through there, Julian Araujo. They've had some really talented players come through there.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully more coming down the pipeline now, and eventually 2 years after that, right? 17 here, not too long ago for him. Turned pro with Locomotive El Paso there in the USL Championship. So he hit the ground running there. 9 goals, 5 assists, USL nomination for Young Player of the Season. He has just been tremendous since turning pro there back in April of 2021. So I think overall 42 appearances there, 13 goals, 7 assists, which warranted a huge move, right? Congratulations, recent to Real Salt Lake in the MLS. So that'll be a step up. I'm excited to see how they utilize him and his unique skill set, which I'll dive into. But he's had kind of quite that journey and progression. It's really neat to see this model and this player right from the USL, kind of that pathway into MLS. So I'm curious to see if that's something we'll see more of in the future. But it seems like a tremendous place where he really grew and was able to really mold and hone in on his craft and develop his game. The coaches, the players loved him there. And just seeing again, some of his highlights there were pretty awesome. So yeah, with that, Austin, in terms of what I really like about his play, again, he's unique because he has this ability to operate out wide, but also really drifts in centrally in the midfield, combines with play really well. He's a dribbling fiend. I know that's not the best terminology to say, guys, but if you're seeing him with the U.S. U20s here, seeing some highlights there at the USL Championship, he seems like he's a ball magnet and he's able to use his technical ability, cheeky little step overs and moves to just get by players, and nobody can seem to take the ball off him. He uses his body very well. He's a strong, stocky, physical player that again, maybe he's not making those tremendous 1 or 2 touches past you around, but he'll dribble his way through 3 or 4 players in very tight spaces, which is pretty unique. So I'm interested to see how that transitions over to MLS with Real Salt Lake, but also, seeing again, he has the mentality, he has that hustle and drive, the pressing. He's very aggressive, which is a really, again, great attributes as you step up in the MLS. I continue on. So I want to pause there. I want to get your thoughts, Austin, on Diego's play.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think the one thing I really appreciate from him is that aggression. I think he's a player that is not going to take no for an answer, and he's always looking to shoot. He's always looking to create, and I think that's really positive, right? We don't have enough players on the the USMNT that are true. I don't know what you what you'd call them, but kind of like bulldogs, right? They're constantly trying to, create in and around the box and take players on. We have some of that, but I think we can always use a little bit more. And I just think he's great already in the sense that he's already done so much at the pro level, right? He's got 20 goals and assists at the age of 18, obviously in USL, which isn't MLS, but that's where he'll be this year. And he's got a pro-ready body, right? He's able to physically hang with professionals, and I think that's really going to bode well for him this year and getting minutes and especially going into next season as well. So I don't know. I just think he brings something a little bit different. That level of aggression, like I talked about, I think is that main difference. And I'm excited to see what he can do in this U20 tournament. And then also just, going forward in MLS, I really think he can make an impact right away for RSL.
We'll be watching some RSL games. So stay tuned there. Yeah. And he just had those assists against Canada. Granted, I really wish we won that game again. But he did make that impact, linking play and having those connections. And like you said, he is not only a dribbling merchant, as they'd say on the Scuff podcast, right? But that final third kind of poacher too, in terms of goals and assists. He's not afraid to shoot. Like you said, the concerns you could say on the flip side with his dribbling, kind of the decision making, right? Maybe holding onto the ball too long, keeping his head down, taking on players, which is great. But there are certain cases and certain moments where you need to recognize maybe there's players on the flanks making runs or the quicker combinations there. How does that translate from the USL Championship to the MLS? Obviously, how does that translate? We've just played Canada St. Kitts, right? And not discrediting them, but how does that translate maybe against Mexico or, their U20s? And again, more importantly, as he steps up into MLS. So I'm really intrigued by his potential and ability there. Again, I'm not saying, and I think you brought the point too, maybe he's not going to be the next, Gio Reyna in the midfield or Yunus Musa, but he certainly could be a fantastic caliber player there at Real Salt Lake, maybe warranting a move into Europe in the future. But I think somebody that you still have to keep your eyes on and is really making waves and headlines already with this U20 group in the tournament. Yeah.
Do you project a certain kind of level he'll get to? Do you think I don't know. Do you think there's a certain league that fits him? I feel like, when you're talking about physicality, right? Premier League is definitely the league to go to, right? Do you think he'd ever get to the level where, he could make a move to a team in the Premier League, maybe like a top 7 or 8 team? What do you think?
I think that's
project.
Yeah, I would love to say that. I think at the peak there, that would be ideal. I think the end goal. I don't want to say maybe it might be teetering around top 4 or 5 championship level in England, maybe that bottom tier Premier League. Unfortunately, maybe Liverpool, Arsenal is shooting a little bit too high from that regards, right? Or your Chelsea's, but I think that's certainly achievable. I just obviously we'll see what happens with Real Salt Lake, but I'm being optimistic. I think we've had some players in MLS translate really well, into some of the Premier League. You're seeing the Harrisons, right, or on their path from championships and into the Prem, and then maybe Almiron's not the best example, but you're seeing some players, right, translate from MLS and have some impact in the Premier League. So I don't think that's out of the question. Maybe. Yeah,
I think that's fair. Moving on to number 3 on our list for today. That's another player from Philadelphia Union, and that would be Quinn Sullivan. So Quinn is a 18-year-old, I would say cam/center forward. He's also one of the younger players, especially on the U20 roster right now. He's actually born in 2004, so that's something of note. He also has had 2 goals and 1 assist in about 670 minutes in MLS. He also holds a German passport, which, is kind of interesting. It, is another option for him, but also, it could have allowed him to move abroad before the age of 18. But now that's not necessarily really applicable. He trained at Dortmund growing up. So another fun fact about him. And the thing I really like about Quinn Sullivan is, again, somewhat similar to Paxton Aaronson. I like how he plays. I like his confidence when he plays. So he's someone who's very, very fundamental player. He's someone that, again, when you're talking about what he does well, right? He's a really good passer of the ball. He's someone that, has good touches, right? He's pretty good. Technically, he's someone that is not afraid to shoot in front of goal. But I think the thing he needs to work on most is his consistency, right? So, we've seen him score some great goals in MLS and, some great goals at the youth level. But he needs to find some consistency in doing that. Same could be said for his passing. And, last night he had a really, really bad cross, but I would say generally he's a very fundamental player, and that's kind of what's given him success breaking into the Union side so young. He broke in at an early 17, and he's kind of a year ahead of some of these other Union prospects right now. I think the biggest thing for Quinn, Pat, going forward is, again, he's going to have to find that spot on the field that really suits him, right? So whether that's, him playing more in midfield, him becoming more of a goal scorer and consistent goal scoring threat as a striker or center forward, I really think, that's going to be the question going forward is what position is he most comfortable in? But I really like, again, he just is a very confident player when he's on the ball. I think he's someone that is constantly looking to improve in his time with the Union. I think that's been very evident. You've seen progression again, like Paxton Aaronson from when he broke in to where he is now. And again, he's just someone that's also fiery, right? We've seen him get into some spats on the field with players. He's got that mentality, right? He's someone that is broken in and deserves to be there and truly sees that he deserves to be there. So I really like what he brings to the team.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think he was unluckily denied by the crossbar, which was unfortunate. So,
yeah,
that was tough. Could have been a different story there. I keep bringing it back, Austin, on this episode. But yeah, I'm with you. I think it's finding that right position. And maybe it is a forward, or maybe it is in that type of role here, because he has so much tenacity. He has the mentality, he has the technical ability, right, and to be able to hit those shots there. He is again, that would be a unique skill set in terms of maybe how he fits into if he can get to the senior team there in the future. I think with all of his tangibles and attributes, he is not too far behind some of the top prospects, you could say. If he puts that together, gets a little bit more comfortable, with his play, with kind of, his body there, and mindset. I think that this is somebody that could sneakily be shooting higher than a lot of these other, players on the team right now, if I'm being a little bit overconfident there.
Yeah, and that's how I feel too. He's a player that's gotten a lot of minutes so far in MLS, and has played in a lot of games. He's actually played in more games than Paxton Aaronson, and he's a younger player, right? He's a year younger than Paxton. So right. I really like. I just like his trajectory, right? I think he's kind of ahead of the curve, and I think this next year for the Union, right? I hope he gets more playing time this year. But I really think next year they're going to try and have him be a starter for that team. I really do. I think him and Paxton both are going to be worked into that starting lineup, and it's up to him again to prove that he's worthy of a position like that in a team that's doing really well right now. Oh, yeah. But I really think the sky's the limit for him. I really just think his play style projects really well to Germany, and calling
a Bundesliga move potentially.
Yeah, I just feel like he's a great blend of technical prowess, but also physicality, right? We think about the Bundesliga kind of in the middle of, the Premier League being the most physical league, and, Spain, La Liga being the most technical league. I think the Bundesliga is a good blend of both playing styles. And I really see that from Quinn Sullivan. He's not afraid to mix it up at times, but he's also someone who can play a great pass and score a great goal too. So, I think this next year is going to be really pivotal for him with the Union. And honestly, with this U20 team, looking at the U20 World Cup next year, we don't have an out-and-out goal scorer on this team. He's the closest thing, I think, to a goal scorer that we have. So he's going to need to step up and cater his playing style to that role. And I think it's a good challenge, right? I think he's someone that, again, he's so early in his development that if he could become a consistent goal scorer and kind of add goal scoring to his resume and be a better finisher, then I think that could really prove to be something that sets him apart as a prospect, right? We talk about Jesus Ferreira, who's consistently become more of a goal scoring threat. And now look at him, right? He's right now the starting striker for our team. I think if we had tomorrow, he'd probably be the starting 9 for our team. And again, I don't think it was that way when he originally broke into the FC Dallas fold, right? He was primarily, a midfielder, right? A center attacking midfielder. So I think, again, this next year will be really pivotal in his growth. And I think for that reason, it's exciting. I think that's why there's a lot of hype around Quinn Sullivan, and why, we're excited about him is because there's a lot of opportunity for him to take his game to the next level, which is cool.
Couldn't agree more. And, we're changing things up here. I'm wearing the jersey.
Yeah.
We're heading over to the Seattle Sounders. We got to talk about this prospect, Austin. That's Obed Vargas. The dual Mexican-American, 16-year-old midfield hailing from Alaska, the chilly Alaskan soccer, you could say, right? A lot of ice fishing and footballer skating. So I guess the reasoning he had to make the move, to Washington State, get involved there with the Sounders Academy is where he started off. So 2 seasons there, and then signed for the reserves side, Tacoma Defiance, just last May, 2021. Not too long after that, I think a few months, Austin made that MLS Sounders debut in July, and then obviously in December there, homegrown contract signed, and he has really taken this season by storm, and just has had tremendous involvement with the CONCACAF Champions League. Finally, he got some impact minutes there, even that run up and even now. He's only 16, and he's already getting really solid minutes there with one of the more elite, current, even just long-term programs here in MLS. The Sounders have had a tremendous amount of success, even how MLS is set up, in terms of their financial structure, right?
Right.
And the salary cap. So it's almost amazing and what the Sounders are doing. And it's great to have Vargas, right? A youth rising through the ranks there, from Tacoma, and being such a pivotal player already, and continue to will be in the future. So yeah, just a few things in terms of his skill that I really like about his game. He wins the ball back immediately, Austin. Great awareness, tenacity, like we mentioned with a lot of these other players. He's not a stat machine yet, per se, in terms of goals or assists. That production, I believe, will come. I think we were talking off camera as well, alluded to Paxton Aaronson, right? Not with the Union immediately having all of those goals and assists there. I think it was just a handful before he even made the move, honestly. But his Vargas's midfield prowess and how calm and comfortable he is on the ball. He's silky smooth. He's like a ball mag as well, and just hounding the attackers to win it back. How he can switch from defense to attack and help with that transition. Very, very mature and wise beyond his years. So I'm just incredibly excited. I hope he's able to join this group. We've heard right in the knockout stages possibly for the U20s, but he's somebody, again, like I said, 16, already getting tremendous minutes. Tremendous ceiling, Austin. So what are your thoughts on Obed?
Yeah, I think it's really cool to see his rise, right? He started some games in the CONCACAF Champions League earlier this year and looked really competent, right? Like that game against Leon, he looked really good. Like he looked like one of the veterans on that team. And I think, yeah, it's great to see him get playing time so early on. And it's so cool to see his story, right? Coming from Alaska. Like, how many prospects do you hear about coming from Alaska? It's pretty.
I can't think of any other one.
Yeah. I have, no player comes to my mind. So, yeah, I really just think, like you said, the sky's the limit for him. I think, he still has to grow a little bit, right? He's still got to get a little bit more consistent in some of the things he does, right? Like some of his passing. But I think overall, right, he's done what he's needed to do, right? He's broken into a first team at 16 years old. He's going to meet up with this team, right? And we're excited about that. We think he could be a starter in some of those knockout games and be a difference maker on the pitch. So, I think, again, for him, it's all about using these next few years, right? He's not someone that's able to go abroad until he's 18 years old. So we know he's going to be, with the Sounders, or we think he's going to be with the Sounders, right? We don't think anything else is going to change in these next 2 years. So it's all about making the most of that opportunity. And again, like Brendan Aaronson, like some of these other MLS prospects, taking, steps each year to eventually, make that move to Europe and make that move to hopefully a top 5 league in some level of time. So yeah, I'm excited about him. I think there's a lot of skills that he possesses that we should be excited about.
Yeah, and I think that's not too far fetched, right? He has a great time to develop, like you said. The 18, if he makes that move to Europe, I don't see why he couldn't join that top 5 league from there if he keeps up this trajectory. I think he has that much ability. Like you said, some of the passing and final third aspects that he can work on. But again, the most important thing, what coaches and the scouts have said, is how calm he is and poised. Like you said, some of those crucial games. These are big time moments. Even MLS with the CONCACAF Champions League, he is cool, calm, and collective as you can be. And that's somebody, again, not making that direct comparison, but in a way, as Musa is able to just kind of glide and control, and you're not worried about him, right? Obviously prone to make some errors, right? They're all young and making mistakes in that regard. But Vargas has kind of that again, silky smoothness, that ability to be that general, that really young general, young leader in a midfield. And again, I know Roldan and company, those long-time Sounder guys, really respect to them. They've kept up the tremendous program, have spoke really highly of him and his ability and maturity. So, yeah, I again, don't harp too much on that point, but I think maybe it's a Bundesliga. Maybe it's, going that route too, or again, having the ability to jump in team like maybe Italy or Spain. I don't think that's too far out of the question as well in terms of his style.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of potential for him, in the future to make a move like that. And yeah, like I said, it's all about using the time he has right now in MLS to continue to hone that craft, get more playing time, work out some of the kinks, right? Get through, improve his passing, improve his, his technical ability and all that good stuff. So
let's get to the Olympics, Austin.
Yeah, honestly, Olympics it's going to be a pretty, important tournament for us if we make it. So, it'll be cool to have a lot of different options for that team, and Obed could definitely play a role. So the final player we want to talk about today is one, Pat, I'm really excited about, and someone that, is still kind of unknown, right? We've heard a lot about him over the course of the past few years, but there's not much footage of him, right? Because he plays kind of, in a remote league and, just recently, signed that first team contract, and that's Rakos Puksas. So if you don't know, Rakos is a 17-year-old midfielder, just signed with Hajduk Split's first team in Croatia. So was with their youth academy this year and did a really good job. Actually, I believe won their, youth league basically there in Croatia. So, cool to see that. He also has Lithuanian descent, so he's also able to play for Lithuania and was actually called up to their senior team earlier this spring, but turned that down to play with us in our U20 team. His father was a former Olympic marathon runner, so kind of cool there. A nice little fun fact for you. And he also spent time in Sporting KC's academy, and then also, like some other players we talked about today, the Barca academy in America. So again, a great pedigree. And this is a player, Pat, that's really a great box-to-box midfielder, right? He's someone that has started at the 6 and the 8 for us, or has at least gotten time at the 6 and 8 for this U20 team in the CONCACAF Championship. From all the highlights we've seen, right, he's very composed on the ball. Is another midfielder that has good close control. The one thing I think that really sets him apart from some of our other midfielders is his range of passing. We've seen him play some nice long balls. We've seen him actually, pick out some great medium range balls, which again, I feel like our range of passing is something that's kind of lost in our pool right now, especially at the senior level, right? We like a lot of those short passes. We like kind of 1-2 play, right? We do a lot of 1-2 passing in and around the box, but we still haven't really integrated, I feel like, a lot of that mid-range and long passing to unlock defenses. So I really think Rakos could be, a really, positive player if he has that trajectory in the future, and can continue to progress. The other thing I liked about him too is, some of these midfielders we see at the U20 level, they're not the best athletes, right? They're great passers of the ball. I think off camera I use Danny Leva as kind of an example of that. Someone who's a pretty good passer of the ball, someone who does a good job, but he's not the most athletic, right? He's not the most mobile midfielder, and I think Rakos is that mobile midfielder. I think he's someone that's got great athletic ability. Right. We've seen that again in some limited action here in this tournament, where he's able to get by players and drive upfield, but also able to use that athleticism to win the ball back and create plays on defense for his team. So yeah, those are just some of the aspects I like from him, Pat. I'm going to pitch it to you. What do you like about Rakos and some of the highlights you've seen?
Yeah, I think just in terms of being more, kind of that box to box, right, and able to play in 8-6 and just have that versatility, I think that's just crucial in terms of the pool, what we have right now coming up from the youth setup. And I again, he's just somebody that has, like you said, not to harp too much on it, but the athleticism offers a different dimension there. Instead of, sometimes you do need that to be able to maybe break the lines, get through players there, take people on, passing around, obviously, but having kind of that different tool in the toolkit per se, from the midfield perspective. I think he's a really unique player and really unique journey, Austin, because I really didn't know too much about the Croatian league, and this has really enlightened me. And I know, a little bit too, about it, but just, how he's able to get to that first team there, make an impact at a pretty competitive league there in Europe, and maybe have some shots at maybe Europa or Conference League and have that European exposure and potentially springboard from there. So I know it's early, but again, somebody that has the versatility, that box-to-box style that I think would be, translate well to even higher level leagues down the line.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the most interesting things about him is just that opportunity to play early on with a first team in Europe, right? That's not something that many of our players have the opportunity of, right? Most of them, they have to wait to move abroad,
right,
at 18. So he's one of those rare players that has the ability to do that early. And like you said, I think this league again is on par with, maybe like a Austrian Bundesliga, Denmark, Scottish league, somewhere in that range, right? This isn't necessarily as high as like the Eredivisie or Belgian league, but it's also, like you said, it's a league that sends teams to European competitions each year. So I think it's a really, really positive environment for him to continue to progress. And, Croatia's produced some pretty good midfielders in the past, Pat. So
that's not bad, right?
I think they know what they're doing over there to some, regard. So I think that's, again, it's really going to be interesting to see how this next year goes now that he's, signed with the first team, right? What does that mean? Does that mean he's going to get consistent playing time this year? Does that mean he's, a prospect for the future and he's not going to see much playing time? I think we're going to have to wait and see in the fall what kind of materializes. But from what I've seen at the U20 championship so far, he's played a role in both games, which I think, speaks volumes. I think when we were down in this game and he came on, I think that was, we were looking for answers, right? And right. I think Mikey Vargas, saw him as maybe an answer to some of those questions. So, I'm excited to see some more of him coming up here. And I'm really excited about his story and the opportunity he has in front of him.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And like I said, I really hope he's able to get more minutes here with the U20s. We have a little bit more exposure, like you said, some of those games, of course, are not as accessible, right? So having this opportunity at the tournament is extremely pivotal to get the fans excited as well, and really remember the name. That's kind of the whole premise here and theme of our episode here, Austin, is obviously there's the European constraints, right? With some of those players, we have your Pepis and what have you that are senior level, but the pipeline is so tremendous here with just these 5 we covered, even more. Not the 5 that are making the impact at this tournament. Granted, some of our midfielders there are pretty like for like. There's just so much to dive into. So I'm really excited for Rakos there. I think him turning down at Lithuania, showing his interest with the U.S. in the future for now, right, is definitely pivotal and crucial as well. So yeah, we just have so many unique players from all nationalities and across the globe to pull from, which is really unique.
Yeah, really, I think bodes well for our future. So yeah, those are the 5 players we're really excited about from this U20 tournament, and a little non-traditional, right? Like you said, we wanted to kind of pick some different names and give some more exposure to maybe some players that haven't had that exposure yet. So let us know what you think about all these players in the comments below. Let us know if there's any other players that you have your eye on and kind of are really excited about. And we'd be happy to kind of look at them and maybe dive into them in a future episode, right, Pat? So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
it's a great idea.
Yeah, exactly. So I think with that, that's the end of our episode today. So make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel down below.
And don't forget, guys, Instagram, Twitter, putting out that great content for you all. So again, like Austin said, let us know. U20 players will be covering the tournament here, hoping for a U.S. victory, but stay on the lookout for the content.
Yeah, and we also have this episode available on podcast form, so go check us out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Leave us a review. We really appreciate everyone who has done so far.
Yeah, Austin, I think obviously we need to come out strong as Cuba. We need to continue, our runs here, give another L to L3's U20s as well, hopefully. But yeah, I'm feeling good. Maybe it's not. Obed can join us here, hopefully. Maybe we don't have, again, all the players released, but still strong enough squad to end up on top here.
That's right. And I really think, I really think we have a great opportunity to do that. And these players have the talent. It's all about, coming together as a team, right? It's tough in these short windows. And
right. We need the Olympics, Austin.
Yeah, we honestly do. Like, that's such a, it's such an important tournament for growth of our youth teams, our youth program, and it's something that we haven't had the opportunity to participate in for such a long time. So yeah, I really agree with that. So I guess, Pat, that leaves us with one more thing left to say, and that is one day we will win a U20 World Cup.